This is the Midnight Radio Show.
Hello and welcome to Movie Monday edition of the Midnight Radio Show. This is Pete Mutino. I'm joined, as always, by gentlemen.
Hi, Mom. It's John. It's John M.
Andrew Daniel Giacalone here.
Is that your real full name?
That's my real full name.
Great.
My full name is John Sambikos Moranis.
Sambikos.
And it's spelled...
I'm calling you that from now on.
Well, guess what my middle name starts with? It starts with a T. The T is silent.
It's very Greek of you.
So it's just like when I tell people, my middle
Tzatziki.
name starts with a T. Kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay. You're named after a yogurt-based sauce.
What's your middle name again? One more time.
Sambikos.
Sambikos.
Sounds delicious.
I am.
So this week we decided to. All of us saw Man of Steel.
Not together.
Not together. No, independently of one another.
Should have seen it together.
Outside of this podcast, just so everybody knows, we fucking hate each other.
Oh, God. Just can't stand each other.
Yes.
Just for those of you who haven't seen it, Man of Steel is the new, it's 2013 release. It's an action-adventure from Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures. It's directed by Zack Snyder. It's based on the DC comic character of Superman. The story follows the character of a young alien sent to Earth as a child who discovers he has superhuman powers. Troubles arise as his past from his original planet comes back to haunt him, and he must stand up against adversary to defend his new Earth home from his original one. The film stars the ridiculously handsome Henry Cavill and the incredibly obtainable-looking Amy Adams. Gentlemen, what did you think of Man of Steel? John?
Well, expect spoilers from this point.
No, spoilers will happen after the first break. Let's just go over our general feelings, thoughts.
When I heard Chris, you watch all of these movies and you see that an awesome director is helping produce the movie.
Right.
And in this case, it was Christopher Nolan. But,
right. He was executive producer, I believe.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, that was just a really rough first hour with that origin story.
See, that was one of my favorite parts, was the origin story.
Right.
I mean, it was a very poorly told origin story, which they basically showed in the whole they showed in every trailer. They showed every. I feel like they.
You felt it was poorly done.
Very poorly done, because I felt like due to the way the timeline is set up for the first half of the movie when they're telling the origin story. Mm-hmm. At one point, I felt like I was like, did they like change real like? And I was like, oh, wait, I'm in a digital theater.
Right.
I just thought it was a real rough first hour to get through. And otherwise, I mean, I thought the rest of the movie was okay.
Right. I mean, the overall tone of the movie, I mean, it felt like almost like this, the Nolan was shining through. It was like a almost Dark Knight universe sort of take on it. Not quite as dark, because Superman, I feel like, is just not quite as dark.
Cold.
They tried, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have the origin story. I saw it in 3D. Did you guys like to see it in 3D?
Also.
I
completely unnecessary.
You guys, man, I'm usually not a huge fan of 3D, but I thought it was pretty well done in this. It didn't throw me at all.
Really?
Like, for instance, there was a trailer for the new Hobbit movie.
That must have looked really
teaser.
great.
Well, see, no, that threw me. Like when the 3D was happening in the 3D trailer for the new Hobbit movie, I was like, it like hurt my eyes a bit. Like it was going too fast. Right. It almost seemed too seamless. Like this, it just felt like I was watching a movie that happened to be a bit more in depth. So I thought the 3D was well done. For John was talking about the origin story. I mean, this is like I guess the first in what will probably be a trilogy. There weren't too many hints at a sequel towards the end, but it definitely it seems like they're setting up for what will soon be like a Superman franchise.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things is that I think that Warner Brothers needs to get past, and whatever fucking director picks up the movie. I mean, listen, Zack Snyder's okay.
Right.
He's not that great.
What else of Zack Snyder's aren't you particularly fond of?
I mean, 300 is okay.
Right.
What else has he done?
I thought you loved 300.
I mean, I think he visually does a good job. And you see that in this
visually,
film.
I think he's a better like idea man than actual like getting the actors there. Like 300 was okay,
and
Watchmen, I mean, was kind of like Watchmen was visually great, and I think it told the comic story pretty well, but it wasn't like up to that snuff, you know.
See, I felt like this movie was kind of like Avatar in the sense that like visually it was absolutely gorgeous and there was like epic shots, but the
The content,
the plot and the storyline seemed very forced and wasn't.
I mean, I think every Superman story is kind of like that. Like, he's never been my favorite superhero. I think he's kind of boring because he does everything.
For that reason, yeah.
And, the villains aren't quite as great. Personally, I just don't think that.
That's one of the things I liked about the movie is that I think they showcased, like, his weaknesses a bit more.
Right, and it
like,
was a different take on him.
Yeah. But, I mean, back to the original point, what was his
Zack
name?
Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
Overall as a director.
He's an okay director.
Yeah, I think he's built for 3D. I mean, they should really re-release Watchmen and 300 in 3D.
Oh,
it seems like his visuals just seem to go hand in hand with that.
You know what I originally wanted to say? Everybody knows. We can assume everybody knows who Superman is, right?
Right.
Like, and I think, the only place is if you go to, like, Sub-Saharan Africa, and you ask some small starving kid who Superman is. What his
Even then, they probably got, like, a hat, That,
Oh, that's the tattoo Shaquille O'Neal has on his arm.
Exactly.
No, but even then, it's just like I don't think we need to tell the origin story. Like, they've told it in almost every fucking Superman movie. And
Right.
It's just like, okay, we know Superman's an alien. We know his homeworld was destroyed. We know he can
But
do
it's
everything.
better to have an origin story than to just jump in. It's like, here's Superman doing
Yeah,
stuff.
if they didn't have that,
I-
it
that
would have
makes-
been even worse. I feel like.
Yeah, I do think this is the best Superman movie that's come out to date.
Yeah,
personally,
yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
better than the original Christopher Reeves ones, and I think it's better than like all the schlock that's come out the past
What was
decade or so.
What was the other one?
fucking
The Brendan
Yeah,
Brendan Collins.
I didn't
I
even
don't know his name.
I didn't even see it. I heard it was so bad. I mean, I think overall though this is definitely worth seeing. I think it's the first real summer blockbuster of what looks to be a promising summer in the cinema.
Next week.
Did you see the trailer for Gravity?
Yeah,
That looked awesome, especially
Yeah.
for 3D. I think
Wait,
it'll be
what's
really good.
Gravity?
Gravity's one with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. They're on what looks like the International Space.
Oh, the ISS.
Whatever the hell that is called, but like she gets detached from it and starts like flying
yeah.
into space. So.
It seems kind of interesting.
It's like Castaway meets
This
a space story.
this one really hit hard on the whole Superman is an alien front.
It
Yeah.
really went, and that's one of the things I liked about the movie was that it kind of, it definitely got into. I went out in my right ear. It's definitely one of those movies that's more. It was more kin to his story and where he's from and what he's about, and I think it was pretty good. The idea of it was pretty good.
Right.
The content and the way of presenting it was a little
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, overall, I think it's a little long. It runs around 2 hours and 28 minutes. It feels a bit quicker, but
Yeah.
it's the pacing's good. Good action. Kind of Dragon Ball Z style fighting. Because it's Superman fighting people from his planet. So when they're away from
Right.
Krypton, you get that whole sort of action playoff.
They're absorbing the sun.
Exactly, the whole Superman thing. Overall, I'd recommend it. I definitely think it's fun. It's worth seeing. And star-studded cast. You got Russell Crowe, Amy Adams, Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner was awesome in it. And so
Yeah,
was, so
I
was
mean,
Russell Crowe.
I have certain things. There are certain things that happen with him that we'll discuss right after the break that's coming up here. I had some reservations about
Diane
Costner,
Lane.
but Diane Lane hadn't seen her in a while either. I thought that was pretty cool.
She was good.
Good
She's
job
always
making her
good.
look old too. The makeup on her was great.
Yeah, really good. For those of you who are big fans of, if you're a big fan of Superman, I would probably recommend it just as a different take on it.
Absolutely, and it's not a bad movie. I
Yeah.
would just say for maybe a bigger movie buff,
Right.
it might not scratch that itch.
Exactly.
But I mean,
or you know what I mean? Like when I go to a superhero movie, this almost didn't scratch the superhero itch either. A lot of it is an origin story about an alien trying to cope with living on Earth and being, who's going to be a god to them, essentially.
well, hopefully we
To the
can be
people of
done. Yeah, well, hopefully we can be done with the origin story now.
Right,
You know,
and we don't even when it gets more to the climactic end, it's less what we think of Superman, working for the Daily Planet, like flying around the city. It's more grandiose and more fighting off aliens. It felt more almost like an alien movie, frankly.
Did you
Yeah.
catch the Jesus Christ reference in there too?
I did, and we'll discuss more of that. There's some
I miss all
there's
these
a lot of
references.
interesting themes, a lot of religious versus atheism sort of
Oh, I
stuff,
did,
but then it
yeah.
kind of backpedals on itself. We're gonna take a quick break here, so I highly recommend it. Check it out. From here on out, spoiler alert. We'll be right back. This is Midnight Radio Show Movie Monday.
Do you ever feel like you're alone? Do you ever feel like no one really understands you? You're just wondering what keeps you going. Well, I've got a crazy idea. Scroll to the top of our Facebook page and like Midnight Treehouse Productions. Will it help your loneliness? No. But you should do it.
Hello and welcome back to Movie Monday, subject of the Midnight Radio Show.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're talking about Man of Steel here, which we all saw this week, and we suggest you should too. We're going to talk now about spoilers, plot holes, all that good stuff that you love to hear us rant about. So I'll talk about the first thing I noticed. I think trading Russell Crowe in for Kevin Costner for a dad, upgrade. You know what I mean? He's less violent. He's more noble. Sure, he was in Robin Hood, but we can look past that.
I thought Russell Crowe was a great Jor-El.
I thought it was really good. See, you were kind of getting hard on the origin story earlier. I thought it was one of the stronger parts of the movie to bring
most
back.
definitely.
I just didn't like the way it was interstitially cut. Like when it showed his pod landing in the Kansas field,
Right.
and then it cut to him on the boat.
Yeah,
Like,
I could have done without that.
I felt like I missed something.
Yeah,
I was
they
like-
did
I was
jump
like,
around
ugh.
quite a bit.
That's the problem. That's my problem with the origin
actual story, though,
the
was-
actual story was fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it was shown to me was what kind of like, because the way they jumped around through time
Right.
like that, I felt like I was like, what's going on? And then Lois Lane's in the Arctic, and he's just walking through the Arctic.
I
and,
mean,
like,
eventually you do kind of piece it all together. It's a little hard to be like, okay, wait, what's going on? Your brain kind of questions what's going on. But it's like, were there too many flashbacks, or because at the end we got the point? You know what
I
mean?
think the way it was cut together, it was like it started with him older. It went older for him with like
Right.
it would cut back and then it would cut forward and then it would cut back, and I was just like, until he finally donned the suit and started practicing flying.
Right.
That's when I finally was like, oh, this is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I get it now. From the moment he donned the suit and started flying, that's when I was pretty much on board with the movie and said, okay. I get
Yeah,
it.
and I thought they covered their ass pretty well with certain plot hole like little moments, like when Mark, what's his name, the villain,
Zod.
Zod.
General Zod.
Yeah, General Zod.
I thought he played a great
Oh,
Zod.
he's a
was
great villain.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I really want to see Iceman too. I know he's in that.
That looks
awesome.
fucking
But I thought it was like a little campy that like he got overwhelmed the way Superman used to as a kid. Earth's senses he was too hypersensitive to them, and he was hearing feedback and seeing through everyone's skin, and it was bothering him. And then like he adapted, within 2 minutes. And then he's like, well, I'm a soldier. Like, I'm well attuned to things. I've learned how to control my body. And, even though it's, like, kind of hackneyed, at least they covered their bases there.
Yeah.
One plot hole that bothered me was, like, how was Lois Lane able to find Superman's backstory in a hometown just, like, on a Google search?
Yeah.
I was like, how'd you find that quickly? You know what I mean? It's
Their
like
whole-
you just Googled, like, kid moving stuff, like, amazing. I
Kid
don't-
flying.
Their whole relationship just bothered me. It just was so forced and over the top. I was just like,
Yeah, I
her
did like
Clark,
his,
you know
I
what
did
I mean?
like
Like-
yeah, I did like his line about what was the thing where she was like, after the first kiss is all
it's all
downhill. He's
downhill.
like,
He
that
goes-
doesn't apply to aliens, bitch. He didn't say bitch, but you know what I mean.
he thought
It was implied.
It was funny. My friend asked me. He's like, did you see the movie? Because he wanted to come, and I was like, I saw it. He's like, how was it? I was like, I thought it was a rough first hour.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, he texts me. He goes, Superman needs to drop more f-bombs and fuck more bitches. Great movie.
Just to grit it up. I mean, there is something like I do want to see like a brutal superhero movie. Like, why aren't they're all PG-13? That's almost, and why I'm upset about World War Z is like, why is that? It's a zombie movie.
It should be rated R.
Yeah. So like, why did they make?
That's what I'm afraid about.
And I hate to get off topic here, but if you want to watch a real brutal superhero movie, watch Super
Right.
with Rainn Wilson.
Super with Rainn Wilson, or like The Watchmen would be another
Yeah.
example. Like
Yeah.
it's like full grit, hardcore, which is interesting because when I first saw Man of Steel and then I saw that Snyder was directing it, I thought it was going to go in that Watchmen direction
Yeah.
at first. I was like, it's going to be gritty. Is he going to be like super strength, like ripping off people's limbs and stuff? I thought that'd be pretty cool.
There must have been so many moving pieces in that movie.
Right, and I was actually hoping. I mean, they do kind of set up for the sequel. They, establish him as we know him, Clark Kent of the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
once
hated
again with the
that so
worst
much.
disguise ever. But I was hoping they would have like something like the way Batman Begins ended, like where they hint at Lex Luthor or something.
They
like
did.
that.
Did you see the LexCorp truck?
No, it
That
was
big oil truck.
Oh,
that was
that's
there?
probably just an Easter egg, though.
Maybe.
I wouldn't say,
Yeah,
that.
but I
Because the
know,
thing
but-
is, it's a lot more in like the dark in Batman Begins.
Yeah,
it's more
where there's
it's like
the Joker
somebody's
card.
somebody's
Yeah.
been ripping off banks. And,
Yeah.
somebody's
Yeah.
One thing that
Armed
really
robbery.
like I loved how they were setting up that Superman, like everything that all those little things that would happen, he would just move on somewhere else and change his identity again.
Right.
And then he just sort of fell into being Superman.
Right.
And I was hoping they would keep it that way and not do the whole like. I know they have to do the.
I did like their choice to not really say Superman. Like they had that kind of moment where Lois Lane is like, "How about we call you?"
And they cut that dumb bitch off.
That was a nice little. I like that.
Yeah, and then like Superman, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "Oh no, that's what they're calling the alien."
Yeah,
that's what the SEALs are calling them. I like the Dragon Ball Z. I kept thinking about that the whole movie. It felt like Dragon Ball Z. It's like superhumans flying into each other and punching them across the world.
Man, I thought for a superhero movie of that caliber and that kind of you're gonna have that kind of action in a Superman movie. I thought the action in those fight sequences were really well done.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in a movie like that, you can get easily lost making everything quick.
Mm-hmm.
But they slowed it down to the right. Like they slowed it down to the right instance where it's like, okay, the fight's speeding up. Now we need to bring it back in, and then they let it reel out again.
Right.
But I mean, I thought the choreography and the fight stuff was really great.
Now we should also talk about the most important thing that happened in the film, which is a reference that was blatantly made to the Independence Day film.
There were quite a few parallels. You know what? How about let's discuss the other facets of the movie, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll close this out with Independence Day.
ID4 references,
ID4 parallels and references.
And another thing about the movie. One of the things. Oh, I'm like playing with the loudest thing ever. One of the things about the movie I thought too was
we keep the loudest thing ever in their studio. It's just what we do,
just in case.
I thought there was kind of a disconnect in what was happening in the story. It's like after he had pretty much saved the world and went home, it was just like, "Oh, hey mom, I'm home." It's like, "Hey mom, I'm home," and she's like, "We can just get new stuff." And I thought that was kind of a disconnect. That saying, all these things were happening, and not. Like, there weren't necessarily, I felt as if there weren't reactions to everything happening. Like, at the end part of the movie, when you find out the ship has crashed and Zod is alive, like, Superman comes down and he saves Lois Lane and, they're all standing there. It's just like, he just wiped out the rest of his race.
Right.
That scream that he let out when he finally killed the general was like...
But I didn't feel the emotion there. It's just like, I just destroyed my entire race.
That's true.
And he's just like, and then they kiss, and he's like, doesn't pertain to aliens, baby. And you're like, you just destroyed your whole race.
I know what you mean. I felt like the fighting kind of lost some tension, too. I mean, it was really cool to watch, and the visuals were fun, and it's, keeps you invested. It wasn't too clunky. It didn't suffer from, Batman Begins syndrome where, the fighting was so rushed and you didn't know what was going on.
It was fast.
It was fast, but in this, they kept it up. 3D was cool. But I felt like a lot of tension got lost, for instance, when he finally dismisses when he, snaps his neck in the train terminal there. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate how they actually did Chicago, by the way. I was waiting to see the Empire State Building just smacked in the background. I was like, really? It's just every city in New York? What the fuck is this? But it's just like the laser's going towards the family there out of his eyes. And then he just snaps his neck, like as if he could have done it the whole time. It would be better if there was some struggle there. All of a sudden, it was just like boom. He just snapped his neck.
Yeah.
So it's like the tension got lost a little bit. I felt like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like Snyder just seems to like characters that can do anything, like Dr. Manhattan. Is that just like his MO?
Just pop people.
Yeah, that was pretty badass too. But I want to talk a bit more about the hint at the sequel. I know we were talking about that earlier.
I'm surprised there was no posting credit.
Yeah, I waited around for that. There's nothing.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. Now I'm just like, I'll just YouTube it later. I'm not going to sit around and be like, oh, what did they put in there? I'm not going to do that. But I don't know where you go from here. And I think it's the integral flaw of the character of Superman. We just saw him fight off all these superhumans, and he's like God to them. Like we see that these creatures from this planet, from Krypton, like bullets don't hurt them. Like guys are just like unloading like helicopter mounted guns, and they just kind of stare at it.
That was another thing.
Rockets.
Whatever character Chris Maloney played from Law and Order,
the general guy.
The general, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just like. He met her in battle once before, and like in the midway point, and he's still like shooting at her in the airplane, in the cargo plane. You're like, really?
Let me try this sidearm.
He's like, let me try this gun again.
Yeah, and pulling out the knife.
It's a great way.
Yeah,
to
what
It's an
the hell?
honorable death. It's a great way to die. Or what was
You're
it?
right.
It's the
No.
great. It's the greatest gift.
So shitty.
And then, I mean, I have a lot to say. Like I said, I just didn't feel like I felt like the action would happen and nobody would necessarily be like, "Holy shit, that just happened." It would
Right.
just be like, "All right, on to the next thing."
Yeah, the movie was more about like superhumans fighting than a superhero saving the planet. At the end, it kind of tied up into that, but it felt like more just like aliens are invading, and then like other superhuman is just kind of like hanging out until we know they collide. It was a little weird.
You know, there are two.
Cool action scene. I like the parts
Yeah.
in the I like the parts in the ship with like Russell Crowe's ghost cyborg form.
Those
you
were-
know?
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I'm kind of taking this from another podcast, but I heard somebody say it, and it's just like, if you think about it, all these superheroes, they dress up in order to hide their identity. Superman is the identity.
Right.
While Clark Kent is his...
Right.
Clark
Well,
Kent
like
is
the-
his costume.
It's kind of like what's his name? Jerk off suicide guy. At the end of Kill Bill 2. David Carradine.
David Carradine.
Yeah.
Jerk-off
That's kind of
suicide.
well, that's what kids know him as.
I know.
But that's kind of the realization he comes to. It's like Superman has to hide who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Clark Kent is who he's pretending to be.
Exactly, and
He-
I think that's a really great strength that they can play on.
Mhm.
You know that he has to hide himself, but Superman has the worst costume ever.
I liked it so much better when it was just he just kept having to change his identity.
Yeah,
he just fell into Superman.
And how could he
you
fight
know.
anything but monsters or superhumans at this point? You know what I mean? Because then, like Lex Luthor, like that's why I never really liked Superman, because it's like, how is he going to get kryptonite close to him this time? You know,
Yeah.
that becomes every episode. You know,
It's like in Superman 2 when they put this the kryptonite
around his
kryptonite-
neck, and he's in like the swimming pool.
He's like in a 2-foot pool, and he's like, I can't get up.
I know, it was so corny. I was waiting for like Adam West to just dive in there with him. It was crazy. We were mentioning earlier there were some weird like religion versus atheism parallels in this. There were some themes popping up in the film, and it was weird. It was like, was this movie pro-religion? The examples, I'm not sure if did you pick up on it a little bit, but
Well, he blatantly did when he was falling out of the ship doing the crucifix.
yeah, he did like the Christ Air from
Yeah.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Little Rune Gilfberg nod. No, but they Zod's right, like lieutenant. That girl is
She
like,
was hot.
yeah, she was hot, but like his kind of like cutthroat, sort of badass super fighter chick. She had that whole thing where she said like, we don't have emotions, so we're more efficient. We're not tied down to humanity. That's why we'll conquer everything.
Yeah.
There were things
Evolution.
like that. Yeah. Because we believe in evolution, and it's like, and if you don't believe that, like you're standing in the way of progress, and that's why we're going to kill you. And then like also when Superman finally decides to like embrace himself and actually go out and do something, it's the news reports that the aliens are invading and want him. He goes to the church, and like the priest gives
Yeah.
him the advice. It's
He's
not
like,
his mother.
what do I do?
Yeah, and the priest, of course, knows how to handle like superhumans coming in.
Duh.
Well,
And he tells him point blank, like, I'm the alien. That, like, basically proves that everything you preach is wrong. But I'm looking to you for advice. It was weird.
yeah, that's one of my that's what I mean when I talk about like kind of like something would be said and nothing would happen. Like if an alien walked into a fucking church and was like, they're looking for me, I'm the alien. Like you wouldn't be like prove it. Like
Bless you, my son.
I wouldn't be like. I mean, I'm not a man of God particularly, but I'd be like, if I was, I'd be like, you're the alien. I was like, can you help me move something really heavy like this?
I know what you mean, but I guess he's but that's the thing, though. Then the movie felt very like pro-religion, sort of, because it's like, well, the priest is like above all this. He's centered, and even though he's bewildered by what's going on, he knows what's best for the alien and the world, and it felt a little weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing was muddied with themes. We had like the father-son theme, like discovering who you really are theme. They just like threw themes at
Sacrificial
you.
father.
Yeah, that was a bit bizarre. Like, there's the scene where Kevin Costner, the tornado's coming, and I kept thinking of Twister. A lot of '90s movies throwbacks secretly. But he goes back to get the dog. He sets the dog back to the overpass, and then he just kind of stares at them, and it's like, no, like I will die now. And then it was kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where they cover Zod's ability to adjust faster than Superman when it took him 10 years to adjust to Earth, and he did it in minutes, and they have one line to cover it. Like Superman had a line that is like, my dad died because like he couldn't realize what I was, so I would realize what I am.
Well, because he said they weren't ready for him yet.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
so
was
why
the weirdest thing.
did he die? Why didn't he try and run back?
Well, Clark easily could have gone back for the dog instead of the father, which I thought was stupid. You know, it's just, what's the
why didn't he just use his superpowers? Kevin Costner was pretty anti-superpowers, and this was very weird.
It was really clear how it was just two sides of the coin. So like Russell, like Jor-El, and his mother's name. It's like all these people on the planet.
Jor-El?
It's Jor-El.
Just a joke. Sorry.
No, it's just like you go to Krypton in the first like half an hour of the movie, first 20 minutes, and everyone's got like Jor-El or Zod or whatever, and then it's like Laura, my wife. like what? Like they couldn't think of an original name. But anywho, my point is that you see the parallels. It's like Jor-El sent Kal-El to Earth so he could learn to have compassion and all this stuff. And,
right, and be the future of their race. I guess be a hybrid, merge the two worlds.
And then Kevin Costner is like, you need to learn how to be an alien. Like, it was such a clear discrepancy where Kevin Costner was, you have to learn how to be an alien, before you can really start to use your powers.
Right. And I think the movie worked because Superman or Kal-El or Clark Kent or whatever the fuck you want to call him, is a compelling character. I think it's cool to learn about him and how he has to struggle to adjust to our world, how he has to, face his destiny and save everyone and choose, which world he wants, either destroy his past to, embrace his future sort of idea.
I wouldn't like to see Zack Snyder behind the helm, though. I mean, I think he's a very, like we discussed, he's a very good visual director, but I don't think he can pull, like, everything he can.
Right, but a lot of this could also be attributed to the writing, the screenplay.
That's true. Too.
He's just like, I'll make it visually cool, but this is the Superman script he's working.
This is what I'm working with, guys.
Yes, exactly.
That is very true. It's what he's working with.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this rather than just director. The director actually, at the end of the day, is like has a lot less power, I think, than they're given credit for. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
unless they're one of these powerhouse directors where they're controlling every aspect, like George Lucas or like Steven Spielberg
or Tarantino.
It's
just like most production companies will just hire a director just to kind of run the set, but
like a lot of this might fall on Nolan. A lot of this clunky stuff where we're because obviously it seems like we enjoyed the movie, but there are certain things that just didn't sit well. You know what I mean?
It makes me wonder when Nolan went into the movie.
Yeah,
like if he was always attached to it.
Yeah, or if he's just been the creative force the entire time.
Yeah.
I usually tend to think that if they're throwing the name out there, like before you even see like actual footage, it's just
trailer,
like the logo and it's like Nolan.
I think that's a way to bring in money too, because they see, like
it is. Yeah.
When I went to The Dark Knight Rises, we saw that first Man of Steel teaser when he just starts flying, and you see executive producer. Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Everyone in the theater went nuts. Yeah, Nolan, Superman.
Great movie to see if you like seeing pavement destroyed.
Yeah.
Not the band, just, the actual stuff on the street.
That was another issue. He got rolled around a lot. Like every 5 minutes, he would get into a battle, and then he would roll and destroy pavement.
Yeah, it was just destroying. It was just super. It was Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Really. That's like what I felt like. People flying across the world, hitting each other like football field distances, and them smashing through buildings, and then rebounding and flying at each other.
So I have
It's cool to watch. Don't get me wrong.
So before we take the break and go into the Independence Day,
he said begrudgingly.
I mean, where do you guys think the franchise is going to go? Because I think we'll see Man of Steel 2 or whatever they'll name it in 2015. And then I think we'll see Justice League in 2017.
Most likely, with whoever the new Batman is. Is it going to be Gordon Levitt? Or
they haven't discussed it yet.
That'd be weird. It's like, wasn't he just playing Robin, basically?
Yeah.
It's like, but now, we'll just slide him into Batman. No.
They won't notice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, probably like most movies where they're, banking on, major cultural paradigms that everyone knows. Like, we will see probably Lex Luthor in the next one.
Yeah.
Because who are the other bad? There was like Brainiac and Bizarro. There's only two I can think of from Superman, and they suck.
Bizarro and
like either they'll probably do Lex Luthor in the second one. They'll do the Dark. If I had to guess, it'd be like Lex Luthor in the second one with some powerhouse actor, and then the third one will be some more obscure one like Bane. But it will be like Brainiac.
Is there any good random shit they could pull from the New Adventures of Superman with Dean Cain?
I'm sure.
Any good villains from that?
They have a bunch of good villains.
Yeah. Because I haven't heard of any.
I don't. Batman had the best villains. We'll just lay that out there.
I think
now.
so, and I think that's a problem for the. I know
Spider-Man to an extent.
It's not even Spider-Man.
They fucked that up
just
too.
for the Justice League movie. I mean, I haven't seen the Avengers, but I hear the Avengers is a lot of fun.
Oh, the Avengers is incredible. Once again,
it's
kind
funny,
of like
it's
this.
action packed. It's great.
It didn't take itself too seriously.
And I feel like that's something the Justice League would do. It would be like, we have all these powers.
One would hope, but it's already living in this dark DC universe, so only time will tell. Yeah. We're going to take one last quick break, and we're going to sum it up, and we're going to talk about our favorite film yet again, Independence Day. Stay tuned. This is Movie Monday.
I'm leaving the podcast.
Good.
Hey, do you hate terrorism? Here's a good way to fight it. Go to the top of this page that you're playing this off of and like Midnight Treehouse Productions on Facebook. It will help us out, but more importantly, it will help America out. Don't ask questions. Just do it, citizens. This is the Midnight Radio Show.
Welcome back to Movie Monday, Man of Steel edition. Before we delve into the Independence Day thing, I feel like we were always hard on the second segment on a film, unless we all really loved it. I like Confidential. We were a bit happier. In this one, we seem to really be pointing out, I feel like we get betrayed a lot as superhero fans.
I didn't love
seeing the films. Didn't love it. It was still worth seeing. I will say this, for a character that's been around and re-envisioned in the past 2 decades at least, multiple times. Like there was even like the Lois and Clark show on television in the 90s. Remember that?
Dean Cain.
I was thinking about that. I kind of want to go back and start watching it.
Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't hold up 90s wise, but they did do a good job making it more about the character and less about him flying. And they
more plot driven.
and I felt like they did that here too. Just they smashed in hyper 3D action scenes as well. So it scratched a few itches for, I'm sure, your average moviegoer. And this movie was a lot like Independence Day. The summer blockbuster. It was an alien film. It was about aliens.
I agree.
My biggest part was there was a very reminiscent scene of when Randy Quaid flies his...
Yes, I immediately...
He flies his plane into the ship on the ground and it blows it up, which Superman basically did with that. What was the thing called?
That was the climax. Yeah, what was the
World Formers?
There was
the World Former,
there was
or whatever it was
the
called.
World Engine and the Phantom Engine or something.
He blows it up in the exact same way that Randy Quaid destroyed the ship.
That was definitely there. Yeah, I thought that the instant that happened, I was like, this is like the climax.
I lost it. I was like, I can't wait to talk to John about this.
One thing.
Did you think of that too, John? What you thought?
You know what? I didn't think about it that way.
Because you try not to think about Independence Day.
I try not to. It haunts me in my nightmares.
And Drew can't help it.
No, you know what? At least for an alien movie, it had fucking aliens.
It achieved that.
It had more than one alien. It had like 7. And you know what the weird thing is?
Like 7.
You know what the weird thing is? It's like, when you watch a movie and then you immediately watch a new movie and you're like, holy shit, that's that guy?
Right.
I was watching, and I know this is a superhero movie podcast, but I'm going to plug a movie. If you like found footage movies that are kind of like, scary-ish, I'd watch Grave Encounters.
Grave Encounters? Grave
Encounters was a pretty good, like, indie horror, not indie, but it was a pretty good horror flick. And there was, it's about these ghost hunters that go place to place, and they like try to discover ghosts, but they make you realize how bullshit the show is.
Right.
Like they pay a Mexican gardener. They're like, just say it's fucking haunted. Please. But this is,
and then they discover real haunting. It's like hacks who get caught in over their head.
Yeah, it's like in this one instance they get caught in an actual haunt,
with a malicious phantom engine on one side of the earth.
But anywho, there was one guy named Houston who's like the ESP. He's like, I feel the ghosts all around me.
Right.
Like, let's go this way. He was the doctor. He was the Kryptonian doctor who took Superman's blood.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, oh shit, that's that guy from Grave Encounters.
It's good to see guys getting work,
especially on that level. Like you see them on probably what's I'd say the lower half. If we had to describe budgets as small, medium, and big. On the upper half of a lower end movie,
right?
To see him in that, and then in Man of Steel is just like, how do you get that part?
Where did you come from?
Going back to Independence Day, I felt like the way they destroyed the other engine on the other side of the earth too was like Independence Day. It was still like a guy sacrificing himself by like crashing the ship into the mother alien ship.
Tell my kids I love them very much.
Yeah.
What was the line he said? He was like, "It is."
It's the
he's like an honorable death is the greatest.
You were right.
Yeah. Now, why does she die in the explosion? There are so many other explosions, and it doesn't kill them. And then, like, fire took off the mask.
That was the black hole
It was
one.
the black hole. They created
Yeah.
a singularity.
Oh, that's right.
And it warped up it like kind of absorbed the ship.
But it doesn't kill Superman for some reason.
No, but that didn't they dropped the pod he was in with the prism drive. So it like sent them back to that dimension.
Yeah, I guess. I see. When you start blending all these sci-fi things that we're supposed to keep track of, and then it's like also a superhero movie, and it's also a lot of it smacked of like just 90s. Like you have Costner in there. I felt twinges of Twister, Air Force
Field
One,
of Dreams.
Independence. Yeah, why is he always hanging out in Kansas?
Always in Kansas.
I like to think it was like the same character. It was what did you guys think of Amy Adams? I always pictured Lois Lane as like kind of like she looked like Wonder Woman without superpowers.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always thought.
I think
that
you're
way.
probably thinking that from New Superman Adventures. 'Cause
Probably.
that's what she looked like.
Yeah.
She
Like
seemed to have
black
way
hair.
too many qualifications for me. Like she's up in these like planes with these Air Force guys with these like jumpsuits, and it's like
Yeah, another weird thing. Why did Zod want her on the ship?
not a clue.
Yeah, they never made that clear. It's like bring the girl.
They did make it
You thought she was hot.
clear.
I got a big alien boner.
What was it? Why did they bring her on the ship?
I don't know why he'd call his own boner an alien boner when he's from that planet, but
No, they explained why.
Not well, because I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
She had too much access for a fucking reporter.
You know, and one of my other issues with the movie was, all right, this is going to harken back to my Independence Day feelings.
Nice.
lay it on us.
But it's just like,
Bring us home, Johnny.
aliens. I'm gonna knock this one out of the park.
Do it.
Aliens come to Earth.
Right.
We get this whole view from the military side of things, right?
Right.
They're not all that shocked. They're like shit.
Yeah, they seem like they've been preparing for it. Like this
Yeah.
is just like it's like oh shit, like
They're here.
a
I
Code
guess they're here
64, an alien.
But I mean, other than that, like I said, the action sequences were great, and it's definitely a movie to check out.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun to watch. I honestly thought it had a rough first hour.
I think you can wait to see it.
I saw this
I
alone.
wouldn't tell
I saw this
Scott.
by myself alone.
I did too.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done that.
Did you wear a trench coat?
It's a lot easier to cry. A little choked up.
I think the only time I ever cried in a movie theater was after my girlfriend broke up with me, and I went to go see The Thing.
Jesus Christ.
I was crying while watching The Thing because she had broken up with me, and because the new movie was not that
Yeah.
great.
What's the first movie that ever made you cry?
Ooh, there's this. I don't remember the name of the movie. It's a very bizarre movie. No, it's this movie where this guy he dies in a car accident, and he comes,
Ghost Dad.
No,
Bill Cosby.
Boom, nailed it.
You're welcome.
That was
he,
it.
he comes back as a golden retriever. I was.
Wait, when was this movie made? Like, how old are we talking?
Hold on, I'm gonna look for this movie. No, it was sad because he tried to get back into the life of the family that had
As a dog?
Yeah.
His way is like widowed wife is feeding him kibble and stuff.
What about you, Pete?
That made you cry.
First movie that ever made you cry?
It's weird. All of a sudden, like when I used to never cry at
Yeah.
shit ever, and then like some switch got flipped when I was like 22.
Yeah.
And now it's
I
like
started caring about
it's like
it's called acting school.
Yeah,
That's
it's like every movie makes me cry now. It's sad. I think it's just because you get like fired once and like someone cheats on you. You're just like a more like sensitive.
You get it.
I think
Worldly
it's called-
person.
I think it's called. This does not look like it. The movie I watched was much darker.
Ghost Dog,
It's called Fluke, I think.
Bill Cosby.
Luke. It sounds like that movie was its namesake. That's crazy. But it made you cry, huh?
Well, I was like fucking 7 or 8 years old.
Gotcha. Okay.
I wasn't crying. But
So what we learned today is you should probably see Superman, and John just it's a big crybaby.
he loves Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby.
Ghost Dog. Ghost Dog Dad. All right, cool. Well, that's been Movie Monday for this week. Definitely check out Man of Steel. Also, I'm going to throw this out here if you've made it to the end. Please feel free to post a comment. The weirdest movie you've ever cried at.
Yes.
I think that
Fluke.
could be a gem.
I did Fluke.
I think I'm going to see Fluke and get my cry on. And
Well, listen.
Could use a good
I was
cry.
8 years old. Please don't judge me.
you should watch it again and see if the tears hold up.
We should. We already did it. Never mind.
Okay.
Good talk. Good talk.
This has been Movie Monday. This is Pete Mutino for John and Drew signing off. Bye-bye.